Hey guys, welcome to episode 40. Today is Update Monday, and what's different about this aquarium? There's a couple things. I took all the swordtails out. I actually moved them to the 125 because this tank was getting a little overcrowded with all the mollies that are now growing out in it. And I also took out the breeder boxes that were in there. Just because there aren't any aggressive fish left in this tank, and I'm actually going to slowly transition it into a species-only tank, and I'm going to try to grow out a lot of the Java moss that's on the bottom there to completely fill up the top of the tank and the bottom of the tank. So hopefully that will provide enough protection for the fry. But also, an upcoming DIY Wednesday, I might create a fry tank. So I might end up moving the fry into a separate tank. And what I'm thinking there is I might do drill a tub with an overflow, and then put that somewhere else for fry grow out. But that's part of a larger idea, and I'll explain that when the time comes. But yeah, I mean the tank isn't quite as colorful, but that's okay. I think it's easier to focus on one species in a 55-gallon tank. You know, I'm not really in it for the breeding. I'm not really set up for the breeding, but I'm gonna try to make it work in this aquarium. Then the other tanks got some more updates. I think this filter is sucking in some air. You might be able to hear it. Not quite sure, so I'll have to check that out. I hear it every 2 or 3 minutes. It blows some air out, so I'll have to check on that just so that it doesn't, so I don't lose my pump. I don't want to burn anything out. But I tried moving the swordtails in here originally, and the same thing happened that happened with the betas. These little guys, like, mercilessly went after them. These guys will eat anything that comes in front of them. They've even tried to bite at my fingers a couple times while they're hungry, just because they didn't know what it was. So I dropped like 10 swordtails in here, and they avoided being eaten, but just narrowly. I got this net here, and I scooped them out real quick because they were going after them like crazy. So what I ended up doing was I moved them into the 125, and ironically enough, these turtles couldn't care less about the swordtails. So that just goes to show you, you know, different personalities, different appetites, same type of turtle. So, yeah. So the swordtails are getting along just fine in here. But what happened was, since I do have a number of fish in here, and since I am planning on adding even more fish in here, I probably will be turning up the temperature a little on this tank, and I'll be feeding it fish food every day. I know I said earlier that I didn't feed this tank fish food, and that the few fish that were in here could just kind of go off of whatever turtle food was left behind, but I feel like as I increase the number of fish, I kind of owe it to the fish to actually feed them. Kind of feel bad about it. So I just want to make sure that everyone's happy and healthy and warm and isn't getting eaten. So I know that's part of the cycle of life, but I am pretty happy that these turtles are cohabitating with the fish, so that's good. I did pull the driftwood out of here because I did do a water change a couple days ago. I'll have to add that back in. This is a losing battle, I guess. You know, I put the driftwood in, and I feed, you know, maybe for a week, and all of the extra food gets stuck and trapped behind the driftwood, and then, you know, the tank is a mess, and I have to pull all the driftwood out, and I have to siphon all of the sand to try to remove some of the debris. It's a lot easier to see it without the wood, so but I know the turtles like the wood, so it's kind of a struggle. I'll have to find a balance. One solution might be to feed the turtles in the sink instead of in the aquarium. So haven't quite figured out how to make that work yet, but that might be in the near future, just because 95% of the waste that's created in this tank isn't from poop. It's from the turtle food. Because diamondback terrapins are notoriously messy eaters. So I'll figure that out, and I'll let you know when I have a solution. But that's what's kind of going on in the 125. With the mangroves, as you'll see, the stand that I built a couple of videos ago is now set up, and I moved the tank positions here, so that's cool. That was kind of a pain in the neck, but it worked. One note that I'd like to make about this is 20-gallon tanks are fairly narrow for their length and their overall weight. And so what ended up happening was this stand was a little bit top heavy, and it is on carpet, so that makes it worse. If it was on a solid floor, I probably wouldn't worry about it, but I did put a couple concrete blocks down here just for the time being. I haven't really, tucked all the power away or anything yet. I'm still kind of working on that. But I just put the concrete blocks there to give it a little bottom weight. Additionally, what you could do is you could fasten your tank to the wall. And I know anything that's over like 4 or 5 feet, it really is recommended, like bookshelves. Bookshelves, it's recommended that you attach them to the wall itself so the bookshelf doesn't fall down. The same thing is true with fish tanks, except they weigh a lot more than a bookshelf. So keep that in mind. It's definitely good. It's definitely good to be safe. I did add some more PVC pipe. This is fresh PVC. It wasn't in the medicated tank, so the crayfish seem to be liking it, although this one crayfish is too big to fit in the tube already. I did buy a pipe cutter, and I've had one of these before. I forget what happened to my old one. I think it might have broke, or maybe it's back home in the attic or something. But they're really useful. It's just a sharp blade, and you insert your PVC, and it cuts it fairly easily. You don't have any of the burrs that you would have with a sawn piece of PVC, and it makes cutting PVC to length pretty easy, pretty quick. Another thing I'm doing is I've got a couple templates here for 2.5 gallon aquarium backgrounds. I might see about working on these as a project one weekend. Just carve them up a little bit. They do fit in the 2.5 gallon aquarium, just barely. So I did test fit them to make sure that they fit exactly. And now what I'll do is I'll work on carving them and see what they look like. Maybe I'll end up. Well, I gotta silicone them, then I gotta let it dry, then I gotta carve it, then I gotta drylok it. I'll see what they look like. I might end up selling these later on, and I'll definitely go bigger as I kind of get some experience and get some rhythm here. I'll probably go to a 5.5, and then a 10, and then a 20 gallon. Ultimately, I'd like to produce 55 gallon backgrounds, and maybe even 125 backgrounds for sale. But that's a considerable project. It's a considerable amount of time and resources involved, and I'm still not quite sure how to ship something that large. It doesn't weigh a lot. It's just very bulky, and it needs to be packaged correctly to make it there in one piece, or in the instance of a larger one, make it there in several pieces because they need to be cut. And then the installation would have to be done by whoever buys it, so instructions would need to be provided as well. But these are easy enough to ship, so I don't have a whole lot of space. They're easy to ship, so that might be what I start with, just to see what that looks like. Put a little nice LED lamp over the over the top of that and fill it with plants and shrimp or something. See what it looks like. But that's kind of what I've got going on. That's what I'm working on. I don't think I mentioned the shades here. Since I moved this tank off the floor a little bit more, there was a lot of glare coming from these lights, especially when you sit over here. So I added those shades to reflect some of that light. It's just some tin foil with some electrical tape. It's not beautiful, but it does its job. So that's what's going on. Alright guys, see you later.